Hey guys, happy Sunday evening. I could actually post this up on Monday evening. So happy Sunday or Monday evening. Today we are talking total non-stop action wrestling. Is it in the right hands? Well, let's just go into a bit of background information with TNA. TNA was created in May 10th, 2002, 4 days before my birthday. And I haven't missed an episode since the first episode. And it was actually quite a good thing that Challenge did. If you don't know what Challenge is, you're obviously American or not from Britain. It's what we watch TNA on. It's our channel we get TNA on. And I don't know if they did this for you, but we got the first episode of TNA. And I remember watching... It was a long time ago, so I don't really remember. But I remember getting the thoughts, okay, this is kind of going to be a new WCW, but with a lot less money. TNA are never going to get up to what WWE have in money. WWE, hugely rich. They can afford to try things out because it's not going to lose them any money. TNA, if they try something out and it goes wrong, oh god, they're going to be in all sorts of money troubles. But we're going to get onto that in a minute. So yeah, TNA was founded May 10th, 2002 by Jeff Jarrett and his father, Jerry Jarrett. The first episode of TNA was actually really good. You had names like Ken Shamrock, Scott Hall, Jerry Lynn, and a young AJ Styles. And there's one tag team I won't forget, I will never forget, the Flying Elvises. That was hilarious. Anyway, one thing that I think really has helped TNA over the years is Mike Tenay on the announce table. Because okay, Don West, he's alright. He's got quite a funny voice. But Mike Tenay's been in wrestling. He was commentator for WCW for all them years. Yeah, I think reason why TNA's doing alright and where it is, I think, is because of Mike Tenay. I haven't really seen anyone talk about that. I'm quite surprised. I thought that would be quite a main topic to talk about. But, yeah, I'm surprised. Not many people have spoken about that. So, the way TNA was founded was quite funny, because Bob Ryder, Jeff Jarrett, and Jerry Jarrett, shortly after WCW ended, went on a fishing trip and contemplated their futures in business of wrestling. And they both realised that there was only one remaining wrestling show on TV, and that was WWE. And Bob Ryder really thought that there needed to be a different one. So, yeah, that's basically how TNA was founded. Yeah. Anyway, in May 2004, TNA Wrestling announced that they will be doing a television program on Fox named TNA Impact, which will be held at Universal Studios Florida for God knows how long. Well, we know how long really, but they didn't know then. Well, I remember that announcement, and I can't really say I like the idea of staying at such a small venue for so long. But in the long term, it's done them a power of good. I thought they were going to be closed in 4 years. I can't see them going very far. I thought they would be worse than ECW. No, when I say worse than ECW, ECW brought great wrestling. But they couldn't get the money, or really the attendances, like big scale attendances compared to WCW and WWE. But it's the same with TNA. They're brilliant wrestling. They've had great wrestling for the last 11 years now. No, 12. I suppose we're going into the 12th year actually. But they just can't expand their audience much more than they've got because they're not. The main. This is how wrestling fans are. They like WWE, and they're young, or they like a small portion of them, like me. They like WWE and TNA, where they're not young, but they're not old. And then you got the old wrestling fans who either come from the golden era or early Attitude Era of wrestling. And let's be honest, they're going to want to see people like The Undertaker, big, huge names, like superhero-like people. What they're not really going to get on TNA or even Ring of Honor, because WWE is more of a show than TNA or Ring of Honor, but TNA are starting to step it up in the last 4 or 5 years. Alright, I'm not going to go off track with Ring of Honor here though. In 2010 was a huge year for TNA. Pro wrestling legend Hulk Hogan and former WCW booker Eric Bischoff came to the company. Oh goodness, this was huge. I remember reading this, I think it was eWrestling News. Yeah, I think you should check that out, eWrestlingNews.com, great website. But, was it eWrestling? Well, I was reading it somewhere online, I was like, no, they would never go to TNA. But there they were, and that just was the start of all these wrestlers, like huge wrestlers, even in their prime, coming to TNA. You had people like Ric Flair, okay, maybe not him in his prime, Rob Van Dam, okay, not another one in his prime, Mr. Anderson, Jeff Hardy, both in their prime. Jeff Hardy, a former WWE and World Heavyweight title only about a year before that. Mr. Anderson should have been WWE Champion, but wasn't. Ric Flair, 16-time World Champion, obviously doesn't need to be bigged up any more than he is. Rob Van Dam, former WWE and ECW Champion. It just started what turned out to be a really good 2 or 3 years for them. So we get to 2013. Hulk Hogan leaves. Ric Flair leaves in 2012, I believe. Yeah, end of 2014, beginning of 2014. Jeff Hardy, I believe, is taking a break. You know, Rob Van Dam leaves in 2013, joins WWE, doesn't go down well with TNA officials. Yeah, they're losing their big names. But they've brought their wrestlers up, some great wrestlers, up in the last few years. And I read some really horrible things about TNA when some of their big wrestlers went, big name wrestlers like Jeff Hardy and Mr. Anderson. No, Mr. Anderson's still there. When Jeff Hardy and Rob Van Dam went, I read some horrible things. Like, just people putting them down. But you look at people like AJ Styles, where would he be without TNA? James Storm, he needs to work on getting in shape a bit more. But Bobby Roode, you know, who else? I can't think. Joe Parks, aka Abyss. Austin Aries, where I know Austin Aries been around the world and back, but where would he be without TNA? He wouldn't be such a big iconic person like he is now, because you can't. He gets the same reaction CM Punk is. He is like a TNA version of CM Punk, Austin Aries. You know, Christopher Daniels, he's absolutely brilliant in the ring. Shame he's never won a world title. He deserved to. And you also got young wrestlers like I can't think of his name. Jesse Goddard. He's only been wrestling like a year. He looks great. Robbie T. Robbie T is my next world champion. Next British world champion. I'd probably put money on that. He's always been in such good shape and he's such a good powerhouse. If he got like a shaved head, he would be a great heel. So after all that, that brings us on to 2014. And the first pay-per-view of 2014, like I reviewed, Genesis. That was not great. That was awful. Half an hour of talking at the beginning. You know, a promo is great to start a show off, but not like that. Like, even got to a bit where Sting was in the crowd, went to a commercial break, and he was still in the crowd. It's ridiculous. So, is Dixie Carter really the right person to take TNA forward? No. You know, I can't really see her doing much. Like people like people like Wrestle Talk TV, which I love. It's a fantastic show, Wrestle Talk TV. Joel Ross, Pat Lennon, all them lot, all great. But they're comparing Dixie Carter to Stephanie McMahon. Now, Stephanie McMahon's been in the business since she was a young girl because her dad has brought her up in it. And that's all she got. She got wrestling stuck in her mind because her dad owned the biggest wrestling company in the world, and she loves wrestling, and that's why she is still with WWE, and that's why Dixie Carter is never going to live up to Stephanie McMahon. Dixie Carter's first ever wrestling job was TNA. She didn't really even like wrestling growing up, so I bet she didn't really know who Ric Flair was. Anyway, they're gonna need someone, especially now Jeff Jarrett has left TNA. I believe they need someone who will push them forward. Like Hulk Hogan, yeah, he's not been in the business side for too long. I don't know. I'm thinking they needed Eric Bischoff, like, to take the role of Dixie Carter. Eric Bischoff is still working for TNA, I believe, but he needs to take that on-screen as well as backstage role Dixie Carter does. I think if TNA want to not spend too much money, but still progress. One person who I always thought was going to go to TNA, but now he's back in WWE. He obviously is not. I thought Paul Heyman was definitely going to go. I thought he was actually going to take over from Dixie or Eric Bischoff, but play the Dixie Carter role. Play the Vince McMahon horrible GM, horrible chairman role that everyone loves. They secretly love it, even saying they hate it. Paul Heyman is a brilliant promoter. You saw that of ECW. He took no money into... God, they made it into a great wrestling show. And yeah, so I don't think Dixie Carter is the way to go for TNA. She's done a fantastic job in the 10 years. I think she's been there for about 10 years. She made AJ Styles, like she said. I don't care what anyone says. She made AJ Styles. That leads me on to the leaving. That's not the right word. To the departure of AJ Styles. That is a huge blow, a massive blow for TNA. Like, he's not their only star, but he is their main star. He is the John Cena, Steve Austin person. Like, you know, Sting is huge. Sting is always going to be huge. He's one of the greatest ever, if not the greatest to some people. But Sting is not gonna pull out a 5-star match like AJ Styles has in the past. Sting is gonna wear his t-shirt still, because his days are over. He's in his 50s, for goodness sake. I know Ric Flair went, but come on, Ric Flair's matches, okay, weren't great. His WrestleMania 24 match was pretty good, but going off topic again, but Sting is never gonna make it further. He's like, I don't know how to say this. He's like a huge, like, I think when Bret Hart came back to WWE a few years ago, but he is like a times a million version of that. He's never gonna wrestle properly good matches again, especially now. He had a few good ones in TNA in the past, like 2005, 2006, maybe 2007. But yeah, Sting's huge, but it's not going to take them any further. AJ Styles they need. He's the face of TNA. I can't believe he's gone. But yeah, I can't see him coming back in too much of a hurry. But I'm glad he had a hugely great time in TNA. By far one of the best wrestlers they had. And if he really works hard, he can join that elite group of wrestlers. He was born to wrestle. So yeah, that is a huge blow for TNA. And another thing I wanted to bring up, the X Division. It's really gone downhill in the last year and a half. You know, I used to watch TNA pay-per-views and get really excited for the X Division matches. You had your likes like the Curryman, Shark Boy, Amazing Red, Sabin, Shelley, Motor City Machine, not Motor City, America's Most Wanted, not America's Most Wanted, I can't think of their name now. Beer Money, that's the one. You know, Daniels, Joe, and Styles, if I said P.T. Williams, you know, oh, and I can't forget Sanjay Dutt, one of the huge names of the X Division. Shame he hasn't won it yet. Oh, I used to love X Division matches. They were exciting. They even bought wrestlers who'd never wrestled on TV before and made them something. You know, TNA wouldn't be the same without the X Division. AJ Styles wouldn't be the same without the X Division. P.T. Williams wouldn't be known all around the world without the X Division, I don't think. And this is where they're able to bring in all these young, up-and-coming cruiserweight wrestlers. Okay, I know Joe and Angle have won it, but... So, I don't know what's happened to it, but... They tried the TNA head cam. They said it was going to change X Division forever, but they used it for 2 matches and it never came back. So they're going to need to bring back constant X Division, Ultimate X matches. They're going to need to bring back P.T. Williams constantly. They're going to need Kenny King to be on top form. They're going to need, I even suggest getting Amazing Redback and Low Key, all superstars of the X Division. This is what made them. This is why we love TNA's X Division wrestlers, because they do something so original every match. You can do something new every match, but now we're getting the same match every week. Austin Aries and Chris Sabin, and it's just getting boring because it's just a one-on-one, but they're not even pushing themselves. It's like a 5-minute match and they're done. They're 2 of the best wrestlers in TNA at the moment. Both former world champions. Both former X Division champions. Obviously. But, you know, it's really not happening for them. They're not going to be world heavyweight title holders. Maybe Austin Aries, but Sabin, I'm sorry man, you've had your time as world champion. Your little time as world champion. But you're not really gonna push it up anymore. Yeah, so the X Division has gone from bloody amazing to pretty damn awful. The X Division now just consists of Austin Aries and Chris Sabin. And obviously Velvet Sky. That's it. I'm really disappointed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go for 3 points for TNA that were brilliant in the last 10 years, and 3 points that were really awful in the last 11 years, actually. Going into the 12th year, obviously. So, let's start with a good point number 1. The X Division. The X Division, as I've just described to you, is unique. It's never been done before. Fantastic. I think it's great. It's bringing wrestlers... I don't think I need to name them again, but it's bringing wrestlers like P.T. Williams, Kenny King, Rob Van Dam's been in it, Jeff Hardy's been in it, AJ Styles. You got all these big names, but you got these smaller names who are making a name for themselves. Sanjay Dutt is another one. Sabin, Shelley. It's great. Fantastic. Point 2, bad point 1 even, the destruction of the X Division. Why has it gone so bad the last few years? I don't know. As I said, it's just the Sabin and Aries division. It's pretty poor for 2 technically gifted wrestlers. I don't know. Great point number 2. Bringing up brilliant wrestlers like AJ Styles, James Storm, Bobby Roode, Austin Aries. You know, I know Austin Aries wasn't an original and Bobby Roode wasn't, but AJ Styles and James Storm both were. Sadly, AJ's left, but his legacy continues. So, you see, I don't think you're going to get any brilliant wrestlers anymore from TNA, unfortunately. But, you know, they've brought up some fantastic ones. AJ Styles, James Storm, Bobby Roode. I've just named the same 4 I've named over and over again. But we're seeing the up and coming of Magnus. He looks great in the ring. You know, we're seeing the up and coming. I think Sam Shaw is going to be great. The Samuel Shaw, even. You know, TJ Perkins. You know, where would he be without Suicide and TNA? TNA, you've done a fantastic job in bringing us some of the smaller talent. A bad point, which isn't really a bad point. It was a shame they only really filmed in Orlando studios for a little bit. Because being a huge TNA fan quite early on, I wanted to see them in big arenas. Because I think they could sell out the arenas they do now after a few years of doing Impact. But, you know, it's not really that much of a bad point. Okay, a good point number 3. Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Rob Van Dam, the whole lot, ECW, bringing on all these big names. Fantastic idea. Eric Bischoff, another one. It's really put TNA on the map. You know, TNA's first ever episode and episodes they had would not be the same without Scott Hall, Ken Shamrock on the first episode. So I think that's brilliant. Some of the names they brought in are fantastic. The Dudley Boys, the greatest tag team of all time. And now they've got Bully Ray and Devon to be singles wrestlers. Sadly, Devon's not there anymore, but he did come back for that one match. But Bully Ray is turning out to be... Okay, he's not technically gifted on his own, but he's turning out to be a pretty decent wrestler. Singles wrestler. He's definitely a great tag team wrestler with Devon. Sting, how could I forget Sting? Sting, one of the greatest, if not the greatest to some people. He held the WCW title many times. He's held the TNA title many times. A bad point is... It's, again, not really a bad point. Nothing they can really do about it is the money. Yeah, they can't try things out because they haven't got the money to, like WWE had and WCW had. And to a limit what ECW had. But I suppose you could hang on there. I believe that was 3 good points, 3 bad points. Anyway, my overall review of TNA. In 2002, when this company was made, I had really not very good expectations for them when I heard and read about it coming up. But I did what anyone else would do. I turned it on the first episode. I think I watched it with my uncle, actually, who is a humongous wrestling fan. Like, he can name you anything to do with wrestling anyway. And we were amazed with the names that were there. Because there was the Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I believe even Arn Anderson was there for their opening day. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me on it. But, you know, Scott Hall, I've just mentioned him, haven't I? But Jerry Lynn as well. I haven't mentioned him the whole episode. Fantastic wrestlers. Then, when they started to bring their own wrestlers up, that was even better. AJ Styles, James Storm, Bobby Roode. Getting people like P.T. Williams, Austin Aries, the X Division was fantastic. And then the Kurt Angle, the biggest name, I don't care what anyone says, the biggest name to come on TNA. He got the biggest reaction out of anyone else's debut. Fantastic. You know, you have Mike Tenay going, Angle Slam, Angle Slam. It was fantastic against Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe. Fantastic. TNA has brought us some great matches. You could say better than WWE, but don't quote me on that because it's different for everyone. But we had the AJ Styles, Daniels, and Joe matches. We had Joe vs Angle. We had James Storm vs Bobby Roode. We've had Beer Money vs Motor City Machine Guns. We've even had Alex Shelley vs Chris Sabin. We've had Jeff Hardy vs Mr. Anderson. We've seen Jeff Hardy as a proper heel. Okay, he wasn't great at it, but that was something I never thought we would see. Coming into 2010, TNA was at a high with the signing of Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff. The fans hated Bischoff, which brought more money for TNA, got more sales. Going into 2011, they started to lose some of their big names, and in 2012 is when it all kicked off. Ric Flair left. 2013, Rob Van Dam left. Hulk Hogan left. Early 2014, the possibility Sting could leave. No one knows what's happening with Sting, but we do know WWE wants Sting. So 2014 is going to be a weird year. It's an unpredictable year. Hopefully they will make some good decisions. But, you know, if they don't, like in the past, they have made some pretty bad decisions, TNA. But I'm going to carry on watching it. Because they struggle out of decisions. They just need the support. So, you know, I'm not going to force you and say, yeah, you better go and watch that. But if you stopped watching, it's slowly getting better. I know the match between Magnus and AJ Styles and the Genesis pay-per-view was a bit awful, but Impact has been alright lately. The wrestling matches are getting better. The mic skills for some of the wrestlers are a lot better. And don't forget, they have lost Hulk Hogan and AJ Styles, but they still have Austin Aries. They still have Kurt Angle. They still have Sting. Jeff Hardy's on a break, but they still have him technically on contract. Anyway, guys, have a lovely week. And I'm sure I will be uploading some more. Ciao.